going to go through an amazing itinerary for Bordeaux and take us to Bordeaux.
All right, thank you, Sandy. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint here. There we go. Can you all see that? Welcome to Bordeaux. Good deal. We're off to a flying start. That's good.
Yeah, we had a couple of tech issues on the way in, so
that's right. Let's all knock wood. All right. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you to all of you. I'm Brian Rademacher, and I work closely with Sandy. I'm about half hour up the road from Sandy in Petaluma, and so in Sonoma County, also in wine country. And then Liz Barrett is joining us as well. I like to say I'm the announcer. She's the color commentator because she adds the color as it relates literally to this particular itinerary in Bordeaux. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to come to you from Alma Waterways and talk to you about this wonderful, beautiful destination that we call on. And so, yeah, we can dive right in. And there's Liz and I, when we were a little bit more spiffed up. We'll look forward to getting into those duds again at some point. I'm not sure when, but hopefully soon, very, very soon indeed. Liz, you want to mention what that CSW stands for in your name?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, I'm a certified specialist in wine. I just tell people I'm a professional wino, which means I know a lot about wine and about the regions around the world and the processes and all that fun stuff.
Excellent, excellent. I'd like to get into that myself, as a matter of fact. And there we all know lovely Sandy, and hopefully you are all aware of a very prestigious accolade that she received just recently from Condé Nast Traveler, which of course is one of the best known publications dedicated to leisure travel, a lifestyle publication. And Sandy was named one of the top travel specialists for 2021. So hooray for Sandy. That's well-deserved. And so we wanted to, you're in the right spot as it relates to someone that knows every which way but loose about travel. So that's great. And then the other nice thing, icing on the cake, if you will, is Sandy is also a member of Virtuoso. Suffice it to say, if you want to belong to any consortium as a travel person, they don't get any better than this consortium of accounts called Virtuoso. So the bottom line is that adds value and many other wonderful things as it relates to travel. So she is also a Virtuoso member. So those are both wonderful things, right? All right. So there, we all love maps. And of course, there is Bordeaux. And certainly you can see from this inset here, that particular cruise, the ports of call, as you can see, they're all sort of relatively close, which actually lends itself to making it a more sort of leisurely experience, right, Liz?
Oh my goodness, yes. It's in, out. Depends on the tide, because this area, the river, as you can see, the upper section actually goes into the ocean. So this is actually affected by tides as well. It's kind of fun. It's very unique.
It is very unique indeed. And also unique, real quick here, I'll just point out the number 2 and the number 2. There is an opportunity to...
Brian,
yes,
don't talk about that later.
Yes, let's keep going. All right. So why Bordeaux? Why not Bordeaux? I mean, Bordeaux is certainly a sensational place, literally sensational. The history, the culture, the art, the food, you name it, Bordeaux is going to offer that to you. From the history standpoint, this is a Roman amphitheater, and frankly, the Romans settled this area way back in, I think, in thousands of years ago. So you're going to see Roman amphitheaters and Roman history here galore, right? And so that's rather interesting, to say the least. This Grand Theatre de Bordeaux, I mean, the architecture alone here is quite beautiful. This was built, I'm just looking here, around 1871, right? And Bordeaux has actually been the capital of France twice, but again, beautiful architecture. This wonderful cathedral, this dates from the 1096, if you can believe that. And it's actually where Eleanor of Aquitaine married her first husband, King Louis XII, in 1137, right? So quite amazing. This also is an opportunity to visit here, this glorious Porte Caillou, again, and a wonderful example of architecture here in Bordeaux. But of course, we're all wanting to get to the vineyards. And so I'll let Liz kind of address the wonderful vineyards and areas that you're going to be visiting on this cruise. Jump in, Liz.
Well, honestly, you get to go everywhere. if any one of you knows about Bordeaux, there's left bank, right bank, Entre deux Mers, Grave, Sauterne. We go to them all, and we go on wine excursions every single day, and you get to meet the locals. You get to understand the different terroirs, the different blends. You know, the left bank is Cabernet heavy. The right bank is Merlot heavy. It's just a fascinating trip, and you get to do it all in 7 days on this wine cruise, or just on a regular itinerary with Bordeaux. It's amazing.
Nice. And Saint-Emilion, Liz just mentioned Merlot. I think Saint-Emilion, the wines here predominantly are Merlot and Cabernet.
It's right
Franc,
bank,
right?
correct,
Yeah.
absolutely. And this one is so unique because rich in history, wonderful trips into the city with the history, but also into the vineyards. And we even have a bike ride with a wine tasting at the end. Of course, we take you back by
Liz, we're
bus.
going to talk about that itinerary later. Let's just talk about the destination.
All righty. And then this will be one of the chateaux, Chateau Gironde, that you have a chance to visit. There are many chateaus, Lafitte Rothschild, Margaux, Latour. This one, again, you'll have the opportunity to visit. And then we'll talk a little bit about, obviously, the world-class architecture. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Place de la Bourse, right? And it's actually the world's largest reflecting pool, as you can see there. It hadn't just rained. I mean, the reflecting pool is that way certainly all the time. And of course, in the evening, the way the reflecting pool reflects the lights of this area is just simply stupendous. And you're literally within a 5-minute walk of the Place de la Bourse. So that's quite lovely indeed. This is a bridge that Napoleon commissioned, Pont de Pierre, and it has 17 arches. And the reason it has 17 arches is because that's the number of letters in the name Napoleon Bonaparte, right? So kind of something. This was inaugurated in 1822, right? So quite lovely indeed. And then, of course, an art lover's paradise is Bordeaux. You'll have chances to visit this modern architecture museum, La Mecca Museum, the Musée des Beaux-Arts as well. This is quite nice as well. This was established in 1801. It has lots of Picassos, Matisse, Renoirs, Rubens, so lovely architect or paintings there. Now, this is really interesting. This is a digital art center, right? This was a former U-boat station for the Nazis in World War II. This is where the U-boats were housed, right? And the French have turned it into the world's largest digital art center. You see a Klimt reproduction there of the Kiss, right? We have one of those downstairs in our home here as well. But anyway, quite incredible. And then, of course, the culinary.
Let me just stop you for a second. You know,
yeah.
For those of us in the San Francisco, I mean, it's traveling around the country, but for those of us in the San Francisco Bay Area, we have the Van Gogh digital thing happening right now. So, you know, if you get to go there, you get a little bit of an experience about what this might be.
Correct. Yeah, and that it's certainly worth visiting. Quite unique to say the least. And I've heard about the Van Gogh visiting the literal or virtual visit to see Van Gogh.
Yeah,
Culinary.
I think it's on the 28th. I can't wait. But I've been to the digital museum in Tokyo, and that was it's fascinating. If you've never been to a digital museum, it's an incredible experience.
I'm glad you reminded me. I'm going to make a note of that. Thank you, Sandy. So obviously, being where you are in Bordeaux and close to the Atlantic Ocean, wonderful oysters in Aquitaine, of course. And believe it or not, Gordon Ramsay and Joel Robuchon, they've expanded their restaurant empire to include restaurants here in Bordeaux. So you know you're in a hot spot as it relates to culinary. The mussels are delicious as well, because again, you're right on the Bay of Biscay. So very close indeed. So you'll enjoy that. And then there's a special, of course, pairing of the white asparagus along with escargot. So just the culinary aspects alone, blended with the history, the art, the wine. I mean, you cannot go wrong going on this particular itinerary. The other nice thing, you don't have to get up very early because the ports of call are so close, right? So they're relatively close. You have the same guide often in the next port. So you can sleep in, you can have fun the night before, and everything is, as I say, relatively close by. Oops. So this, now we're moving into the actual itinerary.
Just jump in for a second. So, we kind of went through Bordeaux very quickly, but, I wanted to give everybody just an overall experience. And I do have this group planned for November. And actually, Michaela and Terry and Myra and Richard are joining us. There are other people who aren't in our wine group, but there's still some availability on the ship. So since we're going through Bordeaux, I wanted to really give you a firsthand experience of what it would be like to experience Bordeaux in more depth, you know, taking an AMA Waterways cruise with us. So we're kind of pushing the two together. So now, Brian and Liz, tell us what it's really going to be like experiencing Bordeaux with AMA.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. So it's coming up, November 11 to 18. And actually, I'm going to let Liz handle, because Liz is the master of our wine cruise program, and she is a much better person to talk about these than am I. So I'll let her talk about what you can expect, because this is an actual quote unquote celebration of wine cruise. Take it away, Liz.
Liz has great stories about this too, I know.
I will try and keep it short with the stories, but if you haven't been on a wine cruise, it's an extraordinary experience, because what we've done, what our wonderful owners have done, is taken a normal itinerary and added to it, added wine excursions, onboard experiences. So it's an extraordinary value, and it attracts really fun people. So speaking of that, John and Jody Wrigley are two of the most delightful people I have ever met. They are in, I believe they're Oregon. And yeah, they are so much fun. And I think she's the winemaker. So honestly, you're in for a big treat. On board, we have wine tastings. We have a lot of education time so that you understand, when you're in the region, what the differences are between what you're used to, what your palate is used to, and what you're going to experience. And the great thing is, French wine is so close to what we experience in North America, because it's big, bold, and in Bordeaux, it's mostly blends, but you're also going to have some wonderful single varietals or smaller blends. You'll have Sauterne. It's an extraordinary experience and quite a value.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, and so John and Jody Wrigley are in the Willamette Valley. I think Pinots are maybe their specialty there, but
Yes.
So, and these are our highest rated cruises, actually. When it comes to guest satisfaction levels, they rate higher. That is the celebration of wine cruises than any cruise we do. So people love these for a good reason. The Ama Dolce is your ship. It carries 144 guests, right? So we point that out. This takes a look at some of the accommodations on board. Yes, this is an Apple computer with a keyboard that's portable, so you can sit here or on the bed and play with the Apple computer. We do provide complimentary Wi-Fi and internet. We spend more on that than we do fuel, believe it or not. Rudy always tells us, our owner, which is hard to believe, but it is indeed true. And so you'll find every accoutrement you would want in these lovely staterooms aboard the Ama Dolce. And then fact of the matter is that, yes, we're known for our celebration of wine cruises, but guess what? Typically onophiles like good food too. So they're not only wine that focus on wine, but also want excellent dining. And so you're going to enjoy thoroughly the dining on board. I love this quote by Francois Minot. Anybody can make you enjoy the first bite. Only a real chef can make you enjoy the last bite, right? Mm-hmm. So our chef, Robert Kellerhals, who is our executive chef, he just won a very prestigious award in France. So we're going to play that up a little bit, but he oversees the culinary aspect. Believe it or not, we don't even have microwaves on board. I just read that the other day. We do not have microwaves on board. I couldn't live without a microwave, but we don't carry them, have them on our ships in Europe, nor do we have freezers, or we do have freezers, I take that back, only for ice cream. But you can see all the things that we offer you as it relates to the dining on board, multi-course dinners. The cool thing is, if you are so inclined, you can go out with the chefs as they source the local food. If you're so into that, you're welcome to go along with them. Any dietary need you have, just let Sandy know. Then we let the ship know in advance, and that dietary need will be met. And then I always like to bring Liz in here on the always available choices, certainly, because you all this lovely, rich French food that all of a sudden you just have a hankering for what, Liz? You got to have the something kind of French,
potato wedges.
The potato wedges.
Not French fries, Potato
French
wedges.
fries, but
I have to
very,
tell you, I was just on a call with Robert and Christine, our owner, and he loves creating these masterpieces in Bordeaux because the things that they are able to find that are fresh and local are so abundant that this is one of his favorite places to create these amazing masterpieces, which we call dining, fine dining. Yes.
I can tell you from lots of personal experience, the food on Alma is wonderful and it's plentiful. And if you have a request for something, they'll make it happen.
Just let us know. Yeah, they'll take special requests. By the way, the chien de retisseur, that in French means the goose cookers. No, you're not going to have goose on board, maybe at the holiday time, but not on this cruise. Anyway, that was established in 1248. Bottom line is to be invited to be a member of chien de retisseur, very prestigious. You can only be invited. And what it means is you have the highest culinary gastronomic credentials on your product, which we do. And it counts both food, wine, but also service, the more subjective angle of service. Well, it's all subjective, but anyway, being members of La Chaîne, we're very proud of that as well. And then, of course, as it relates to how the drinks work on board, the welcome parties we do to welcome you on board, the bottled waters, we do have wine and beer and soft drinks. There's a sip and sail cocktail party every night, 1 hour before dinner. We have a cocktail party. And then, of course, the wine varietals change every single evening, and they are local wines. So if you like last night's red wine more than tonight's, just ask for it, or vice versa. So we're very flexible that way. And the other thing that I know Liz likes to talk about is what to bring if you're in a winery, to bring what?
We have no corkage fee. None. So when you go on these wine excursions to these amazing wineries, buy some wine, bring it back on board, drink it, share it. It's part of the adventure, and we encourage it.
For sure.
Well, also on these wine themed cruises, when you're tasting like from this winery in the Willamette Valley, that's included as well, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And they make amazing wine.
So yeah, that's kind of the added icing on the cake, is to have those winemakers from Oregon. And what they do is they're knowledgeable, obviously, about their New World wine up in the Willamette Valley, but they are also knowledgeable as it relates to the varietals that you're experiencing there in Bordeaux. So that's kind of part and parcel of their coming on board and being able to speak to both, right? And so that's kind of an interesting aspect as well. Now, we will have a wellness instructor on board too. And so whether it's yoga or core strengthening or stretching classes, cardio classes, they're all obviously optional, and they're held sometimes out on sun deck, and certainly can be done there. But what's nice is they're available to you if you want to pursue that. That's available, as I mentioned. And then the excursions, I like to say we practice social distancing on our shore excursions, and we always have, in the sense that the ship's complement of guests divides up into much smaller groups. And the reason is that we have different pace levels, from slower pace to regular pace to active pace. There's late risers, there's guided hikes, there's biking. Not so much hiking in Bordeaux, I should take that out, but certainly the bikes. Anyway, the bottom line is the ship's complement divides into smaller groups, which people look towards these days, certainly. And so that's nice as well. And then the other nice thing is these excursions are all included. So you just have to kind of pick and choose what it is that you would like to do. And Liz mentioned the biking through the vineyards, which we do offer, and there it is. Right, Liz?
Absolutely. This is one of Christine's favorites. And traveling on a bike through a vineyard, it's one of the most extraordinary experiences, right, Sandy?
Absolutely.
And they're very easy to ride. They're what are called modified Dutch flyers. You know, the bikes in Amsterdam, those big tires and the easy handlebars, and there's about 8 or 9 gears. They're quite easy to ride, right? And so even if you haven't been on a bike since the 5th grade, you can still get on a bike. It'll all come back to you. Like they say, it's like riding bikes. So it's kind of fun to do. I think we have 25 bikes on board. So the other thing is you never have to worry about going slow. Like, oh my gosh, there's always a guide at the rear and a guide at the front, and always the fitness instructor is with you on the bike tour as well. So you actually have 3 people that are there kind of keeping tabs on everybody. So it's all good that way.
I did a bike tour on the Netherlands thing, and I don't think I'd been in a bike in a million years, and it was like and everybody was so great and so helpful and so kind, and it does come back to you.
It's amazing. It does come back. Yes, indeed. this is the capital, Saint-Emilion of Libourne, right? And so it's situated on the left bank of the Dordogne, two of certainly Bordeaux's most elite wine growing areas. And Liz, I know, loves talking about Saint-Emilion, so I'll let her take over.
Well, I just find this place fascinating because of the history. I mean, there's a tour, and I highly suggest it, where you are taken underground into like the catacombs. And, but as you come up and you're walking around the city, the smell of macarons are just assaulting your nostrils, and wine everywhere. It is quite a magical city.
Indeed. And then you can also see here, we talked about the monolithic church, and that church, by the way, where you go underground, dates back to the 12th century, right? So that's, again, quite amazing indeed. All right. And then Chateau Boutonnet, and this is where we are docked overnight in Libourne, and you have an opportunity to do about 4 or 5 different excursions, including visiting here at Chateau Boutonnet, which is or a French country market visit. So again, really the tough thing is picking and choosing, because there's so many good options, right? This is why people sometimes go back to a place, because I want to do what we missed the last. There's no wrong choices, by the way. They're all great choices, but you think, gosh, I would like to do that too. But anyway, we're going to offer you a whole wide variety of things to do in each and every port. And again, you can see sort of the historical aspects of these various chateaus, again, dating back to the times of the Romans, right? And then Blaye is how you pronounce this, Blaye. And I know Liz likes to talk a little bit about Blaye as well. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well, and also a very important military importance for the Romans as it related to a fortress they had here. Take it away.
Well, the city, you can see the ship right there. It's docked in the city. You walk off, you walk up into, and it is pretty much uphill into the city of Bourg, and you're taken to a wine festival at the wine house of the city. I think every city should have a wine house, don't you? But the fun thing is there is music. There is
wine house right here.
I was just going to say that, Warren. Warren is the wine house for San Francisco.
I love that. Well, the great thing
see
is
what's going on in the wine house right now. You know, coming out packing up 200 bottles of wine from a private cellar dating back to the 50s that I just purchased.
That's a good wine house.
Including a whole bunch of Bordeaux's, first growths and Moutons and Lafittes and Haut-Brions and everything from the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Wow.
That's amazing.
We won't be drinking those tonight.
Well, and you probably won't be drinking those here, but the great thing is, because the city brings in all of the local vineyards, every time you get to go, it's different wineries that are presented. And usually it's 3 or 4, and they talk to you about their wines. You get to sample all of them as you walk around, enjoy the entertainment, relax, laugh, walk around the city, walk back to the ship, whatever you want to do. It is really a lovely outing.
Nice, very nice. And then Pauillac is in the Medoc region and also has some of the famous best Bordeaux wines certainly here. And then you'll have a chance to visit the various chateaus in this particular region of Pauillac, and taste a Grand Cru classic estate here too. And then Chateau de Roquetilliade, let Liz talk about, because I know this is one of her sort of favorite sort of whimsical places to visit, right?
That's a great word, whimsical, because, you know, we always say, oh, it's another castle. Oh, you know, whatever. But this is not just another castle. I was so amazed as you walk through, you go on the tour, and as you're going from room to room, things are not as they appear. So it's almost like a medieval funhouse in a sense. And the wonderful thing is it has been family owned for, I think, 700 years. So you are actually taken on the tour probably by a family member. So they know this place, and the architect was a quirky engineer type of person. So seriously, this is something not to be missed.
Cool. Something else not to be missed is the City of Wine Museum, La Cité du Vin. I just love that picture. I did think it's so evocative of Bordeaux. And this is where, just to remind you all again, what Liz talks about in terms of bringing wine back to the ship to no corkage fees. So you might indulge yourself here as well. So I just love that picture of La Cité du Vin. All right. Now, can I
back from here? Do you know, Liz, can they ship back from that wine city?
You know, you usually, if you ask, if you go to that place, probably has it all set up and locked and loaded. They just look so professional. And every time you go on an excursion, ask, because some of them have the ability to help you ship. Some do not. It just completely depends on the winery.
But luckily we have Warren. So if you can't bring your stuff back from Bordeaux, you can just come home and tell Warren and he'll ship it to you right then and there.
Nice.
That's even better.
Indeed. So can I talk real quickly, Sandy, about the
Yes, yeah, oh, absolutely. I just didn't want you to do it in the beginning.
Right. So on the map, I was kind of letting the cat out of the bag, because on the map was the Basque Country in Spain. So you do have an opportunity to go to the Basque Country for 2 nights in Bilbao, certainly well known for the Guggenheim Museum, and then also 2 nights here in San Sebastian, which our owner, Rudy Schreiner, this is one of his favorite, and he's an Austrian from Vienna, but this is one of his favorite places in Europe, is San Sebastian, which has a claim to fame, I think, of more Michelin star restaurants per capita than pretty much.
This is foodie heaven, from street food to Michelin restaurants, everything.
Tapas everywhere. Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because I've been to Barcelona so many times, and for whatever reason, I never got to Bilbao. There was always some going somewhere else, the whole thing. And just the idea to do that and San Sebastian was just like icing on the cake.
Correct, indeed. And we do look for unique pre and post cruise opportunities. So that fits certainly the Basque Country in that category of a unique pre cruise to going to Bordeaux. So that's available to you. And the nice thing too, the cruise manager who's going to be with you on the ship, he or she, they'll be with you at the hotels as well. So you kind of can develop that really nice rapport with the cruise manager ahead of time. They're kind of like your own private concierge, if you will. They're the AMA person with you at the property. So that's nice too. That's got an added sort of luster, if you will. And then after the cruise is done, it's not heading right off to Paris. No, you can spend time in the Loire Valley at a chateau. I mean, gosh, talk about, again, topping it off with a nice post cruise in the Loire Valley. So these are opportunities for you before and after the cruise that Sandy can fill you in more specifically if you are so inclined. All right, so we have time for Q&A, or better yet, we can also look to, it's up to you, Sandy, we can look to have Warren jump in. And
why don't we see if we're good about, so why don't you stop sharing your screen, Brian, so we can see everybody.
Okay.
And any questions about Bordeaux or the itinerary? Anybody have any questions? Carol lived in Bordeaux. Where's Carol? Carol, do you have anything you want to share with us about the time that you lived in Bordeaux? You're still muted.
I'm not very good with this. So Bordeaux is really, and I noticed on your list you had put like the Dune du Pilat, which is down near Arcachon, the Cap Ferrat. And I actually climbed that several times. The first time was well, it's always terrifying, I think, because I don't like descents. It's kind of like skiing, except the sand is all around you, and you have this great fear of being buried in sand. It's the tallest dune, the tallest sand dune in Europe, and it's just immense. It's really quite amazing. And that whole area is really neat because it's got lots of the Arcachon. You know, you have the best oysters. You go to the merchants right there and you eat them on the half shell. They prepared them for you. So you get just the freshest seafood. I had many experiences in Arcachon going off. I was a student at the university there. And then later I came back to Southwestern France as a teacher, as an instructor at the university in Pau, which is down in the Béarnais. So I know that whole region really well. If you like foie gras, it's the best foie gras in France, certainly, and possibly in the world. The Landais region, which is just south of Bordeaux, is just quite fascinating. It's pine trees, very middle class, very bourgeois, but very strong emphasis on the good things in life, good wine, good food, enjoying life. And I've been to many of the regions. The Blaye, I have a good friend who lives in Blaye now. Her name is Anne Parmentier. She runs the Chateau Les Chaumes in Blaye. And another friend that I had when I was in Bordeaux, her son, the grandson of the owner that I met when I was there is the Chateau Belgrave, which is in the Lannon de Pomerol. That's also to be recommended. It's a wonderful area. I mean, I just had a fabulous time there. And I go back when I can fairly frequently because it's my place. I own it, I think.
Nice.
Oh dear. Yeah.
I'm always nervous when there's a French speaker because then I think, oh gosh, I hope I pronounce things correctly.
Well, the Bordelais, as you know, are very particular. So I speak with a vicious American accent. I'm always told when I go back there, they always say, well, you speak French very well, but you have an accent. And one time they told me that not to be embarrassed about my accent, I sound like I come from the Pays Central, which is down in the center of France, going to the east of Dordogne, and it's where the peasants all live. I mean, in other words, I have a peasant accent, which isn't very nice either. But the French are very critical, but they're also very hospitable when you get to.
Yeah. Ginger, you've spent some time in Bordeaux. Is there anything you want to share with us about your experiences there? I guess they're too busy eating their gourmet meal.
Right.
All right. Any other comments or questions about Bordeaux there? Okay. All right. So Warren, we've been talking about these wineries and left bank and right bank and all these mixes and everything else. So tell us about what we're drinking tonight.
Well, thank you, Sandy. Nice to see all these friendly faces, although I guess there are a handful of people who decided not to get dressed for the call because they have their video turned off. Anyway, because I always love to see what Ginger cooked, but we can't see today. So anyway.
She'll post it in the group, in the Facebook group, so we're good about that.
So we have a couple of lovely wines today, and I'd be shocked if anyone's had these wines before. Maybe a Gazin or something like that, but I guarantee you no one's had this wine. Correct? Until tonight. Yeah, because this is a brand new wine. 2018 is the inaugural vintage of this wine. It's from one of the most famous chateaux in all of Bordeaux, Chateau Climens. It's in Barsac, just a little bit to the east of Sauternes, sort of in the southern area, if you remember the river there on the left bank. And famous for hundreds of years, Sauternes and Barsac, famous for sweet wines, for dessert wines, generally made from Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. I'm sure many of you have had dessert wines from Sauternes in that area. If you've been lucky enough to drink Chateau d'Yquem, arguably, or recognized arguably as the greatest wine in the world. And if you want to drink some, buy some, and invite me over. I get it wholesale and I can't afford to drink the stuff. It's several $100 a bottle. But Climens and Sudereau and Coutet and a lot of these other famous wineries from there, their wines are south of $100 for dessert wines, half bottles. And although I'm finding that half bottles never seem to be enough unless it's a precursor to opening a magnum. So the folks over at Climens, recognizing that there are some great still white wines in Bordeaux. White wine is not nearly as well known as red wines in Bordeaux, but those wineries that make white wines, primarily from Semillon or Sauvignon Blanc or a blend of the two, like Haut-Brion Blanc, Haut-Brion, a first growth, makes a white wine that costs as much or more in some versions than its red wine. It can be as much as $1,000 a bottle. And so obviously most of it's planted to red wine, but some is planted to white. So the guys at Climens decided that they wanted to develop a white wine. So they worked with a very famous producer in Sancerre, Philippe Jolivet, who makes phenomenal Sancerre, primarily from Sauvignon Blanc and Chenin Blanc and those grapes. He's a biodynamic producer, and they wanted to replicate that philosophy and that style of winemaking down in Climens. And they took some of the Semillon, they planted new Semillon grapes. So these are pretty new, I think 97, something 20 years old, and 20, 25-year-old vines, I think, something of that nature. So the younger vines at Climens, and they make this gorgeous, dry, still white wine. And it's, you know, for me, I discovered this wine, and you've heard me say this many times over the past year, and it's like I pretty much locked down the entire inventory. Sometimes I buy it all. This one's a little more pricey to do that, but I pretty much have the entire remaining inventory of the 2018 locked down. They're just releasing the 2019, so they're probably going to force me to take it all at some point. But I've used this wine to great success for many events. I think some of you may have actually seen me use this wine on one of the Provises events that we do. I know there was a little bit of crossover with this group. And it's just, I find it a gorgeous wine. It's, you know, beautiful floral nature. You can see the flowers on the label. I mean, it's supposed to be, I think the Asphodèle, reading my notes here, Asphodèle is the French name for splendid wild lily with white flowers. And I'm sure that if you went there, that wild lily would smell like this wine, or vice versa. And it's just a beautiful wine, low alcohol, less than 13% alcohol, this wine. So you can drink a lot of it. It's got great acid to it, which makes it a lovely, lovely food wine. And just, you know, in the mouth, just fresh and lively. I can't remember the food pairings you sort of recommended with this, Sandy, but this wine does have some beautiful fruit notes to it. It's got some sweet citrus, like maybe red grapefruit, stuff of that nature, but just an absolutely
scallop recipe,
beautiful one.
Warren, and people are writing in the chat that the scallop recipe was delicious and went really great with the white wine.
And would expect so, because scallop being a very rich, oily shellfish is going to be beautiful with a wine that's both floral and high acid, the brininess of a scallop or even an oyster. I would think a shrimp brochette, something like that, would be just really, really wonderful. Wonderful.
Judy made a lovely comment, and I know it's hard for you to do, but she said that she doesn't think she ever had 100% dry Semillon before, and you keep surprising her with whites that she likes, and she usually prefers red. So there you go, Warren. That's a great compliment.
Well, thank you, Judy. I appreciate it. As you've heard me say many times before, any asshole can sell you a great bottle of wine for $1,000. But to find a great bottle, not a good, but a great bottle of wine for $40, $50 is a challenge.
That's
and I think both of the wines tonight qualify for that. Yeah, I see Judy's comment.
And then Leah Marie, you know.
Well, we'll see if Judy's comment is genuine or mere platitudes by how much of it she orders.
Oh, you're throwing down the gauntlet.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. There is no obligation whatsoever, Judy. I'm very happy you're enjoying the wine.
How many bottles do you have? Lots?
I ordered 2 cases last week. So there's I think there's a case in the warehouse, and then there are, I think there's four or five more cases left at the distributor of this vintage before they move on to the 2019 vintage.
All right,
I had the 2019 vintage, but it was a good vintage in Bordeaux, so I would presume actually that the 2019 vintage would be great. But the great thing about the 2018 is it's the inaugural vintage. It's the first one, and it's great. It's not a wine that will be found anywhere. It's a wine that will preserve its gorgeous nature for several years. No reason not to keep this wine for a good 5 to 8 years at least. It definitely is one I'm stocked up on. And
you heard it here first.
and it's the first. So you can pull a bottle of wine out and say, this is the inaugural vintage. You know, we're
Pretty special.
so. Gorgeous. So when you go down, this is a winery we're visiting. So what else? All right, I have to refill because that one was getting cold. It was a busy day. So while that was getting cold, Connie and I had broken into the L'hospitalet de Gazin. Now, Chateau Gazin is a venerable right bank winery. It's goes back. The location goes back to the development of the facility in the 12th century, and just a beautiful location. You know, Pomerol is absolutely beautiful. Just outside Saint-Emilion, which is, oh God, Saint-Emilion. That place is insane. It's just, Saint-Emilion is just insane. Walking in those, I think the whole town, I think you'd mentioned this, I think the whole town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The whole city, the whole town, that's the town. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And the restaurants and the people and the stores, just pretty amazing. So again, Chateau Gazin is really famous. It's on the northeastern part of the plateau there. And great terroir, great minerality. This is what's called the second label. So Chateau Gazin, and this is L'hospitalet de Gazin, what they call their second label. So generally, what they do, the younger vines or the grapes that they don't feel warrant going into their first wine, which Chateau Gazin would probably be $175 to $200 bottle of wine, they put into the second label. So it could be younger wines. It could just be, they're not necessarily inferior grapes, but they also don't age for as long. They may not use the the same quality of oak for aging and things like that. Or they may use barrels that had been used for the first label the previous year. They now use it for this one. But these second labels are among the best kept secrets in the wine world. And because you can get a wine that, frankly, for most people would be almost indistinguishable from the first label for 25 to 50% of the cost. I don't know that it would necessarily be true of a Chateau Lafite, although Corolle de Lafite and Pavilion Rouge de Chateau Margaux are fantastic wines, absolutely world-class wines, and cost a fraction of their big brothers. And that's what this is. And I think you would agree. You can see how deep ruby color it is, and that's the Merlot. I think this wine is predominantly Merlot. I think 90%. Is that what it says here? 90%. A little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon and a touch of Cab Franc, which is typical. If you're on the left bank, it would be closer to 70-80% Cabernet Sauvignon, and then Merlot and Cab Franc. And a lot of the wines on the right bank are 100% Merlot, such as Chateau, Petrus, Similzone, and some of those others. Of course, in the movie Sideways, when they disparage Merlot, and then the guy at the end of the movie is drinking Chateau Petrus, which is, of course, 100% Merlot. But that's the great, that's the tongue-in-cheek irony of that movie. But anyway, just, gorgeous nose, beautiful black fruits, and just a gorgeous wine, great color, great nose, and just a beautiful velvety, silky, smooth, long finish. And a gorgeous food wine. You'll probably see how soft this wine is. Very little tannin in the wine, and this is 2014, so it has a lot of age on it. And this is the current release. So it's actually, no, this one I brought in especially from New York for you guys. They sent me 2 cases because I sold out of it. I did it in a promo a while back. But the 2014 Gazin would still be very tannic after 6 or 7 years since harvest. This one isn't. It's beautiful and ready to drink. Great wine, great steak wine, great heavy, rich meat wine, etc. And just for me, tremendous value and a beautiful example of what Merlot can be when handled by someone as famous and as capable as Jean-Pierre Moix. Now, you may know Jean-Pierre Moix's name. He owns Chateau La Fleur Petrus, also in Pomerol, and those wines go for north of $375 a bottle. And but you get the same vinification, the same winery, the same winemaker, the same techniques that go into this grape. Moix also owns Providence in Bordeaux, but he owns that famous winery in Napa, which of course now my mind just this mad count's killing me. No,
Another sip, Warren. Maybe that'll help.
Come and help me. What's Moix? Come on, Stan. What's Moix's winery in Napa? Oh, God,
you ruined my mind. But the second one, it's Dominus.
Dominus. There you go.
All right, yay!
$5 to Stan. So, and Dominus, I mean, Stan, what does Dominus go for now? $400-500 a bottle?
No, not that much. It's a couple hundred. I just bought the 2015, I think, vintage, but not much. A little bit.
What? You're cheating on me? No, that's so Dominus. So again, this is, but I mean, Stan, you know Moix, you know Dominus,
Yeah.
you know La Fleur Petrus. I mean, this is a special bottle of wine for, I think if it's $50, it's a lot.
It's a very nice, but I was going to say that, Dominus also has a second wine, Napa Nook, which I haven't really engaged in much, but it's probably in the same category that you're talking about for second wines.
Well, Screaming Eagle has a second wine. A lot of these labels have second labels now.
Screaming Eagle is so far out of my price range that I didn't even know they had a second label.
Well, Screaming Eagle don't even get me started on Screaming Eagle. I've yet to meet anyone who can explain any rational thinking behind.
I know who can explain Screaming Eagle. The people who are now buying non-fungible tokens.
Or Dogecoin. The Dogecoin guys, they understand Screaming Eagle.
Yeah.
I have to tell you that I don't know how many years ago, it was several years ago that they actually had Screaming Eagle in the Costco in Novato.
Really?
Oh my.
No, that doesn't surprise me. Here in San Francisco, I'll see Chateau Margaux and Lafite. I mean, I saw a $10,000 bottle of whiskey there recently. So yeah, there's
they just pick up an odd thing, but it was like, oh my God, Screaming Eagle and Costco.
yeah.
They go for quality.
I've bought Echem at Costco in the past. In fact, the best place to buy Dom Perignon is Costco. Costco sells Dom Perignon cheaper than I can buy it wholesale.
Yeah. Well, Costco is the largest wine seller, I think, in the United States, isn't it?
Yeah, they are. They are. In the world. No one sells more wine than Costco.
Oh.
It's a little bit of a bête noire for me, but.
Yeah, but first of all, they're not charming like you are, Warren. And second of all, they don't kind of deliver and, all these special things.
No, well, they don't have these wines. You won't find Chateau Asphodèle at Costco.
So not even in the same league.
Yeah.
So Ginger showed us her shrimp thing before while Warren was talking. It was a quick glimpse. I don't know if she's still around to show it, but it looked pretty delicious. Any comments on either of the wines for Warren or want to share or what you made? Judy, just so you know, the onion soup recipe is from Alma Waterways. So it's Alma Waterways onion soup recipe. So, which is a very traditional one. Anybody else? Comments, this, that, whatever. There's still some space available on this Bordeaux cruise. So if you want to join, Richard and Myra and Terry and Michaela and me, plus the other people that are not part of our wine tasting thing. We'd love to have you come along. And what else can I tell you? In case some of you came on a little bit later, I'll just repeat this about Casa Uma. I am in contact with them. I do have a menu. I do have a price per person. I'm waiting on some wine kind of stuff. They can only take 10 people in a group on the weekends, but they could take as many as we want during the week. So there's an email that will be going out to you tomorrow. And if you can RSVP to me about whether you want to come and if you prefer the weekend date or the weekday date, and then I'll be able to see if we only have 10 people, we can do it on a weekend. If we have more than 10 people, then we have to do a weekday night. So, that's just that. But I think it'd be fun. We get to be in person together. And I'm sorry that Lee and Louise can't come, and Patty and Renee. But, hey, hop on a plane. We'd love to have you.
We'll FaceTime you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's right. We talked about that. We'll make you like Sheldon. And same thing with Manal. But we'd love to have Manal and all her friends. That would be so much fun. And Liz, who deserted us and went to Florida. But Brian, you could come.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to go down to Southern California and do something down there with Minal and all of her friends. That would
be fabulous. That would be fabulous.
Sandy, Rennie and I will make it there sometime for sure and join you folks.
Well, when Ginger has her 26-person paella in her backyard, you and Renee and Lee and Louise have to come.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, we'll make it. We'll make it a big thing. So we're getting to the top of the hour. This is the last in our series 3, and this is a year that we've been doing this. Can you believe it? We started a year ago last May, and we've actually literally traveled around the world. I mean, we've been in Africa, we've been in Australia, we've been in New Zealand, we've been in Greece, we've been in Italy, we've been in Portugal, we've been in France several times. I mean, we've just, we've really just scoured the earth. So, but the good news is now we can start, the world is opening up again, and now it's time to start planning travel in person. So this is going to be the end of our virtual travel and wine touring. But it doesn't have to be the end of our group. We've got our Facebook page. We've got our Portugal thing. We can stay in touch. And, if you guys want, we can plan, a trip for ourselves with Warren. And we can go to Argentina, or we can go to Chile, or we can go to any one of these places that, we visited virtually, and we'd love to do there and have these wonderful experiences. And Warren has incredible inns with the winemakers to make them very special and very wonderful. So, email me, leave notes in the Facebook page. Let's stay connected and let's make something happen. It can be 2022, it can be 2023, or we can even do a yearly trip together. I mean, there's all kinds of options. So I think it's been fun. It's been great getting to know some of you that I didn't know before. And those that I knew before who I didn't know were such great wine drinkers, Judy. So, now it's, thank goodness so many of us are vaccinated. Thank goodness, travel is beginning to open up. And, let's enjoy the world in person rather than virtually.
Sandy?
Yes.
Awesome.
As things are opening up, we were wondering if Warren would be willing to host an event at his place for all of us at some point.
Yes.
Come
yes.
on over. Come on over. We got plenty of wine.
Well,
Be happy to do that.
Well, our first option will be the restaurant. And then whenever Ginger's ready to, open up her backyard, that's another. And we can do some little local things. And then when we're together in person, we can talk about what we might want to do as a trip together. So just lots of opportunities.
Warren, can we come to the warehouse?
I don't know why you'd want to do that. Rather have the warehouse come to you. It's much more fun.
Yes.
And Stan, I have some wine for you. I don't know when I'm going to next be able to get out to Oakland. I was hoping this week, but I've got too much wine, travel and golf. But I may be in Oakland tomorrow late afternoon. So if I can stop by, I will let you know. He's on mute.
We also got a notification today that the concerts in Paso Robles are starting up again in July. are opening up.
Oh, fun.
Nice.
This is wonderful.
So Warren, late afternoon tomorrow is fine.
All right, let me,
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
all right, guys, thank
you,
you.
Warren. Ginger, there's Ginger's. What? Oh my goodness. What is that, Ginger? Is that the scallops?
No, that is a chocolate chip cookie in an iron skillet in Lori and David's wood-fired oven.
Oh, you made it last week.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, the chocolate
When
chip
we
cookie.
did Australia. Oh, you'll have to send us the recipe.
Which is going with the red wine. It's really good, but it's very hot right now.
Excellent.
Chicken later.
All right, guys, thank you. It's been
Bye.
fun.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you
Warren.
all
Thank you,
soon.
Sandy.
Right.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Not the end,
Bye,
it's the
everybody.
beginning of new times together.
It was great, Sandy. Awesome. We'll see you soon.